We paid way too much for this graphics card, and of course, it came from Temu.
We bought an RTX 3050 from Temu because it's the first real legit graphics card we have found on the beautiful website that is Temu. We had to get it, we had to test it and see if it actually is worth buying. Spoiler alert, it's incredibly expensive, but we're gonna talk about it after a word from today's sponsor.
Are you looking for some crazy deals on components like GPUs and even full builds? Then today's sponsor, Jawa.gg, has you covered with some of the best deals on the market. Jawa has an individually curated group of verified sellers that are selling components, even full builds, at some of the best prices on the internet. Jawa is great not only because they have a ton of sellers listing components at really affordable prices, but Jawa will also purchase GPUs directly from customers to make it the easiest possible solution for selling a GPU. Tons of gamers who got new system and parts over the holidays are selling their old tech at insane prices over at Jawa.gg, so now is the best time to buy. And if you're someone who has also upgraded recently, selling your old PC is super easy and will help you make some money back. If you're interested in joining the best marketplace to sell and buy gaming gear, check out Jawa.gg today, or you can head over to sell.jawa.gg/GPU to get started on selling your GPU today. Big thanks again to Jawa for sponsoring today's video. Now, let's get back to it.
So as you can see, this GPU says iGame on it, but it is actually from the company Colorful, which you may have heard of before. They're a worldwide company that have recently started to come to the US a little bit more, and some of their prices aren't too bad, but obviously if you're buying straight from Temu, you might be paying a premium.
Yeah, we noticed on Temu, all graphics cards in general are incredibly expensive, and I don't really know why, because most people aren't going there to buy graphics cards, so you would think they'd be really cheap, but regardless, we're going to talk about the 3050 real quick for those who have never seen a 3050 benchmark, and then introduce our new test bench that will be used to test this graphics card and all graphics card testing here on the channel in the future. So let's go ahead and talk about a 3050. The RTX 3050 is based on the GA106 graphic processor. It has 8 gigs of GDDR6 memory. It is a PCI 4.0 by 8 card. It launched at $249, and it is an RTX card, meaning it has ray tracing support. The 3050 is kind of a weird card. It's priced a little bit higher than we'd like to see it, and especially when we pay $270 for it, it's a little bit even higher than you'd want to pay for a 3050. But the fact that it was available on Temu.com from a company we know, Colorful, we just had to buy it and see if it's actually legit. And there's some interesting things about the card, like a turbo button that allows you to ramp up the profile of the fan just by hitting a button. That's it, hitting a button. Very weird, but all in all, the card showed up in good condition and looks pretty cool. It looks brand new, has a cool design, and all in all, I'm excited to see how it's gonna perform. But before we dive into testing, let's talk about our brand new test bench.
So to go over the parts for the test bench, we have the Ryzen 7 7700X 8-core 16-thread processor. And cooling that CPU, we are using the Deepcool Assassin 4 in white. We have a B650 ROG Strix Gaming Wi-Fi motherboard, 32 gigs of Corsair Vengeance DDR5 at 6000 MHz, a 4TB Lexar Gen 4 NVMe SSD. We're powering this whole system with the PX1200 GWH from Deepcool, and the case is the Deepcool CH560 Digital.
Big thanks to a bunch of companies for making this test bench possible, Deepcool, Lexar, and I think that's it. Yeah, they made this test bench possible, so big shout out again to them. And we're gonna go ahead and dive into some testing, see what this 3050 can do, and then talk about the value proposition of a graphics card from Temu.
Alright guys, now that we have the RTX 3050 from Temu on our test bench, let's see if it can game, shall we? Now the games decided to test are as follows. We have Apex Legends, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Warzone 3.0, Cyberpunk Halo Infinite, and Fortnite. Now of course, this is the first time we're using our brand new test bench with that Ryzen 7 7700X, so do keep in mind if there are some games that are more CPU bound like Fortnite and other esports titles, you may see more performance with this test configuration versus you at home with maybe a lesser CPU, but I'll be sure to mention those games as I go through them so you guys know what to expect if you pair it with, let's say, like an i3 versus a Ryzen 7 or something like that. So let's go ahead and dive into Apex Legends, which at 1080p high settings got an average of 120 plus FPS, 130 at times, and overall was a very smooth experience. With this benchmark video, we want to test two things. We want to make sure the temperatures are good on this graphics card, and we also want to make sure it's a legit graphics card, and as you can tell, it's looking like a real 3050. We are pulling about 115 watts from the graphics card, which is pretty standard for a 3050. Again, it only uses a 6-pin power in this specific model case, so it makes sense to be at 115 watts, and temperatures are very solid. We are running the turbo mode with that turbo button. Honestly, it didn't sound significantly louder running turbo mode versus non-turbo mode, and performance seemed about the same, so if you leave turbo mode on, you can, but don't expect like a massive gain in performance or anything. But in terms of Apex Legends, we got a high refresh rate experience running these high settings. You could run lower settings as well, but depending on the CPU you have at home, your mileage may vary. Now let's dive into something a little bit demanding in a game I have not played in a long time, Star Wars Jedi Survivor at 1080p medium settings with no FSR, no upscaling, none of that stuff. We got 45 FPS on average, which again is pretty solid for a game like Jedi Survivor, which is very hard to run, especially on launch. It was very hard to run, but it does look like it has gotten better in terms of performance. And for like a single player story game, 45 FPS isn't great, but I would say it's definitely playable. We did decide to go low settings just to see what the difference would be, and we did get up to the 50s with this game. You would want to use FSR or some sort of upscaling, honestly, to get the most performance out of this if you're a 60 plus FPS target for a game like this. And also considering how expensive this 3050 is, I would hope to get 60 plus FPS in a game like Jedi Survivor, but we'll talk more about that at the end. The pricing of this card is what makes this very strange on Temu. Now let's talk about Warzone 3.0. Is it actually called 3.0 or is it 2.0 with the Modern Warfare 3 update? I don't really know. I'm calling it 3.0. We are running the balanced preset quality DLSS. We are taking advantage of DLSS here. We got 100 to 110 FPS with some dips into the 90s. Very good performance overall. DLSS does help us get close to that high refresh rate experience at 1080p. If we want to run a 144Hz monitor on some slightly lower settings with DLSS, we most certainly could do that. And in terms of what CPU you would want to pair with this GPU, because a 7700X is definitely a bit overkill, you can go with like an i3 12100 and get close to the same results as this, but in Warzone you might get a little bit lower, probably like 80 to 90 on average. Or on the higher end, like an i5 12400 would work as well, or Ryzen 5 5600 from the AMD side of things will work good as well. All in all though, the 3050 is a very weird card, and even for getting this Temu card in the price it's currently at, there are better options versus the 3050, but for those who absolutely love Team NVIDIA and want to be on an NVIDIA card at the lowest possible price with ray tracing, RTX, the RTX 3050 is an option that's out there. Now let's test this thing to its limits in Cyberpunk 1080p medium settings. Once again, we're going back to no DLSS or FSR, and we got some surprising numbers. We got an average of 69 FPS, nice, a minimum of 60 and a max of 81, and those numbers kind of shocked me a little bit with no FSR or DLSS. Getting a 60 FPS average in Cyberpunk is really good, close to 70 FPS. So if you're wanting to play at like the 70 to 80 FPS range, you could run DLSS if you wanted to. And by doing so, you could have an incredibly playable experience. Cyberpunk actually surprised me and ran really well. Now let's talk about Halo Infinite, another game that's very GPU bound. 1080p medium settings, we got 80 to 90 FPS, pretty smooth overall. Halo's kind of a clunky game unless you're running on really high-end hardware. The frame times tend to be all over the place, but all in all, it was a good experience on Halo. I would have no problems playing this game long-term with a 3050 and run lower settings to get like 90 to 100 FPS, no problems whatsoever. And last, of course, we have to test Fortnite. With that Ryzen 7 7700X, that CPU is going to be helping us out a little bit here. So if you're running like an i3 or a i5 or some other Ryzen 5 older CPU, you may not get the exact numbers that I'm seeing here, but we are running DX12 on lower settings, so it does utilize the GPU a lot, and we were seeing 100% GPU usage, but that CPU is being used a decent amount. So again, keep that in mind, but we are still getting a really solid result, 200 plus FPS with dips here and there to like 165, but all in all, an incredibly playable Fortnite experience, high refresh rate, no problems whatsoever. Now we do have to talk about the elephant in the room, the pricing of this card. The RTX 3050 is already a weird card at $210 to $220, which is the price you could find them now on like Amazon and Newegg from normal brands. But the fact that this is being sold on Temu.com for $276 makes absolutely no sense to me. They're also selling RTX 3060s for $349, and they sell other ones that are $287. The pricing on Temu makes no sense, and I bought it just because, hey, YouTuber, we should buy it and see if it's any good, but no one in their right mind should pay $276 for this card. Cardflip makes some very awesome looking cards, and these are no exception, but the price point is absolutely ridiculous, and nobody really should be paying that amount of money. We're getting close to RTX 4060 level of price point for a 3050, which makes zero sense whatsoever. So all in all, no one should buy this card from Temu. I'm just telling you that. At $276, makes absolutely zero sense. And if Temu's being, well, legit with their listings, they're claiming that over 3,000 people have bought this, which is absolutely ridiculous in my eye. But all in all, just don't buy this graphics card from Temu, but we are getting one step closer to an all Temu PC. And I want to ask you all a very important question. We don't have CPUs yet on Temu, but I'm so tempted to do a PC build with everything else that we can get from Temu, minus the CPU, and buy that somewhere else. Should we do that, or should we wait for CPUs to pop up? Let us know in the comment section down below. But yeah, interesting benchmark section. The 3050 is legit from Temu. Let's bring Jackson back in here to wrap this video up real quick.
So this graphics card performs like an RTX 3050, and there's really not a whole lot to it that make it worth that extra price tag besides the fact that if you want like a kind of gigabyte vision looking card that is a little bit smaller in form factor, that's really it. Or if you want a big button on the back that most people probably can't reach while they're gaming. Other than that, I mean, it's just a normal 3050.
Just a normal 3050, but it's cool to see that there are graphics cards popping up on Temu.com, and we're getting closer, very close to that all Temu gaming PC. Hopefully they bring CPUs in. I don't know if I want to buy a power supply from Temu, but maybe power supplies so we can do an all Temu gaming PC. So let us know in the comment section down below if that's what you want to see here on the channel. And also, if you want to shop around on Temu, do it at your own risk by using the link down below. It's not an affiliate link or anything. You could just go to Temu.com and maybe buy a 3050, or we'll leave alternate suggestions to places like Amazon and Newegg for RTX 3050s that are a lot cheaper, and those are affiliate links in the description down below.
So as always, we hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure you check out our other 2 YouTube channels and also our twitch.tv/toastybros. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.
So this graphics card right here, along with our old test bench, which is now signed by Matt and I, will be available at PCBros.tech.
PCBros.tech. We sell gaming PCs, so you don't have to worry about finding which graphics card to upgrade to. Just get an awesome computer from us with our awesome expertise. Use code ToastybRos2 and check out to save 2% on your next purchase. See you guys later. Goodbye.